Hi, hello, welcome back to my place on the internet. My name is Amanda and I post a lot of lifestyle content, or I guess I used to post a lot of lifestyle content because I haven't been active in months. But today I'm back. I wanted to get back on YouTube before I start grad school because I know it's gonna make me extra busy. So I decided to film a couple of videos, and today's video is about pansexuality. As you can tell from the title, I have a little pride makeup look going on. I am just going to start off this video by playing a TikTok that I made a while back on my main TikTok account at Amanda Conover. I think it kind of breaks down the main thing that I want to talk about in this video, so I will just play it right now.
An opinion you have that might piss some people off.
It's biphobic to identify as pansexual if the sole reason for doing so is because you view it, or you perceive others to view it, as more inclusive than bisexual. Bisexual is an umbrella term that's inclusive of liking two or more genders with or without preferences, so technically any multisexual could identify as bisexual if they wanted to. The other multisexual labels are just more specific. There are a lot of valid reasons to identify as pansexual, but inclusivity is not one of them. And when you identify as pansexual because of the perception that other people have that bisexual is just liking men and women, which is false, that's also biphobic because you are literally contributing to that incorrect narrative by not fighting against it and perpetuating the idea that pansexuality is more inclusive, which it's not. I guess before we can even get into this debate, I should probably explain the difference between bi and pan. I have a whole video on it. My understanding right now is that bisexual is liking two or more genders with or without preferences, as I stated in the TikTok video. And then pansexual is liking all genders with or without preferences. So my understanding is that pansexual is just more specific. Like if someone only likes two genders, they can't be pan. But every person that identifies as pan could identify as bi, because bi is inclusive of every single multisexual label. It's an umbrella term. So that's a little breakdown of bi versus pan. And I think the problem with pansexuality comes in when people don't know the definition. Like I talked about in the video, it's very problematic to identify as pan because it's more inclusive, which I've heard so many people doing. And it's problematic because that literally makes it seem like bisexual isn't as inclusive. Like if you're saying pansexuality is more inclusive, that's making it seem like bisexual isn't inclusive enough for you. And bisexual is inclusive of everyone. It's just the stereotypes that ruined it and made people think that it wasn't inclusive, or people still think that bisexual is liking men and women. I think the biggest problem comes down to misinformation of people not knowing the difference between bi and pan, or not knowing the true definition of bisexual. And I think another issue is when people do know the true definitions, they still want to identify as pansexual because other people perceive it to be more inclusive. And I think that's a problem because that's contributing to the incorrect narrative instead of fighting against it, which I literally said in my TikTok almost word for word. I feel like I'm just copying it again. When you go around talking about why you chose pan, a lot of people will say like, I didn't want people to think I only like men and women. At the end of the day, that just hurts bisexuality. I think the better thing in that scenario would be to identify as bisexual, and when people ask you about it, just explain that it doesn't mean liking men and women, because then that fights against the stereotypes and the way that society sees bisexuality right now. When you're doing the opposite of that by picking a new label just because of society's perception of bisexuality, that's contributing to that narrative. One of the other issues I have with pansexuality is that historically it just did not come from a great place. You know what? I'm gonna look it up right now because I don't want to spread misinformation. Okay, so the word pansexual came from pansexualism, which was a term popularized by Sigmund Freud in the early 1900s to describe the view that most human behavior derived from sexual instincts. So pansexuality literally stemmed from something unrelated to what the current definition is whatsoever. I have a problem with the fact that a whole new label was basically taken and turned into something that already existed, because people that like all genders without preferences, like that's already bisexual. Like there's a lot of bisexuals like that. There's a lot of bisexuals that aren't like that either because it's an umbrella term. I think it's problematic that one is seen as better in a lot of circles and one is seen as worse in a lot of circles. I mean, some people still believe that pansexuality includes trans people and bisexuality doesn't, which literally is transphobic because trans people are not a separate gender. Also, it's just completely inaccurate and false. But I think the issue with pansexuality is just misinformation. There definitely are valid ways to identify as pansexual. Like if you just feel more drawn to the label, or you like the more specific label of liking all genders with or without preferences. I don't agree with, I forgot what they're called. Is it like battlefield bisexuals? There's this like specific subset of bisexuals that just hate pansexuals and don't think they're valid at all. I understand where they're coming from because every multisexual micro label technically could be bisexual, so it's like, why do we have all these labels? But at the same time, I think micro labels are really helpful for people. When you get into those specifics, it helps people form a community with people that experience the world exactly like them or a lot more similar to them, rather than having one big umbrella term with people with tons of different experiences where some of the people might not be able to relate to other people in the community, if that makes any sense at all. So I see both sides of this. I don't agree with the battlefield bisexuals, if that's what they're called. I don't really remember, but I don't agree with that because I do think micro labels are really helpful for some people, like I just said. But yeah, that is pretty much all to this video. I think a lot of pansexuals are very uneducated. A lot are very educated too, but I have run into a lot who claim it's more inclusive. So I just think that a lot more information needs to be spread about bisexuality and how it's an umbrella term and how it's inclusive. Also, when I posted this TikTok, I got people saying like, you're wrong, bisexuality isn't an umbrella term. And it literally is. You can Google, is bisexual an umbrella term? And the very first thing from stonewall.org.uk says that it's an umbrella term, and bi.org has a whole page on the bi umbrella and how it's an umbrella term. There's just so many LGBTQ organizations that are credible that include bisexuality as an umbrella term. But also, if you just think logically, bisexuality is inclusive of every single multisexual microlabel. Like anyone who likes more than one gender could technically identify as bisexual because it's just inclusive of everyone who likes multiple genders. So that's literally like the definition of an umbrella term. Yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed me ranting about pansexuality. With that all being said, if you want to contribute to this discussion, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll try to respond to everyone. Peace out. Oh, I didn't turn it off. Fuck. I'm so thirsty. Okay, I usually take notes for my videos, and I was just looking up the notes for this one, and it literally just says expand on your TikTok. So, very helpful, past Amanda.